The Dream and the Valkyries. Marco, the Dream put on an all-time horrific performance last game. They couldn't shoot. They had 40 points at the end of the third quarter. 40. It was just a bad shooting night all around. And there's still a 1-point favorite here, despite that, with an over-under 164.5. Money has been coming in on the over on this one, but I would expect some regression back up. Atlanta is much better than that. They just had an off game. How do you see this game?
Oh, absolutely. I have Atlanta is one of the top 5 teams in the WNBA, if not, top 3. It's very, the teams are grouped together, clumped together at the top, and then you got the rest of the league. This is one of those oddities, and I'm not a fan of this scheduling wise, where you get 2 teams play back-to-back games, and especially when it's back-to-back games at the same location, which you have here. And part of that is due to the travel. Golden State, the East Coast teams traveling west in that. They try to group them in and vice versa when the West Coast teams go east, play that Connecticut, that, dreaded travel to Mohegan Sun, in the middle of nowhere in Connecticut. This is a spot, though, I think Atlanta, they were ripe for a letdown. If you look at the previous 4 games before they played Golden State the other night, they had 4 games against 2 teams. They played Toronto, then they played back-to-back games against the Fever, Indiana, and Caitlin Clark, and that sideshow that you always have when the Fever, when you're playing them, and then they played Toronto again. So 4 games against 2 teams. I think that coming off that stretch and heading west, they had a clunker. And boy, if you look at the stats, and I love to dig into the box scores, see where things were at. Were there any outliers? And yeah, there were a couple outliers, and they were huge ones. You look at Atlanta, they shot just 39% for the game. You go to the 3-point shots, they were just 4 of 18 in that game. On the flip side, Golden State couldn't miss. Golden State, ridiculous, 15 of 32 from 3. You just don't shoot 47% from 3. Those are 2 outliers that I think you're going to have come back to the norm. And, of course, Atlanta being, one of the better defensive teams, as is Golden State, I think Atlanta is going to make the adjustments, and you're going to see a better effort from them. And I think they flip the script tonight and get the win here. I'll lay the points. And I want to give you guys a little interesting stat, and I'm not applying it to tonight's game, but I want you guys to write this down for future wagers. Golden State has an oddity this season. First half wager. If you take Golden State at home, just in the first half, this team's 10-1 against the spread. And the reason I'm going to dismiss that tonight is because they're playing the same team back-to-back games. I think when teams come into Golden State, especially those West Coast teams, and especially if they're just starting their road trip, Golden State's a tough spot on the schedule because they do play a different style of basketball. They're not up and down the court. They can play defense, and I think teams struggle in that first half against them. So file that for future use. Look at Golden State. First half wager, especially if it's the first game of the road trip for the visiting team.
That's interesting. I don't know where I stand on these. The Fever just did it against the Mercury, where it's just back-to-back games, and I don't know. It's weird, but at the same time, it makes all the sense in the world. Like, why not just knock out a couple of games at the same location? Why have them travel all over the place? They do this in NASCAR. They used to do this in NASCAR, Marco. They'd race in California, then in Pennsylvania, then in Texas, then in Michigan. It's like, you guys just race in the same region for a few times. Like, why are you racing all over the country? So, Marco, you got a bunch of stuff up for the summer specials. You got the deli. So tell us what you got going on at Wager Talk.
Yeah, deli. We will be recording that in the next hour. I got to get my package up for today. It's going to be a 4% National League Game of the Week. Baseball's heating up. Last 30 days, we're top 5 in money won in baseball. Again, you know, the way I handicap, the further I go into a season, the more data I have to work with, the better I am. WNBA, what can I say? It's been a 3-year run, 64%. And guys, you know, I actually enjoy the WNBA. I probably have watched live more WNBA action in the last 5 days than most people have in their lifetime, because the Aces have played 3 home games in 5 days, and I've been there for all of them. And, you know, getting to see all of the teams up close and personal. And I know, Andy, you do a lot with the WNBA, and you're like me, you like a lot of player props. This is the most inefficient market that there is, I believe, going right now, is the WNBA, because all they do with the props, Andy, is they look at the season average. Okay, doesn't matter the matchup, it's the season average, and this is what it is. We put it up, and maybe we'll juice it a little bit to the over or the under based on the last couple games. But you've got to understand player rotations, coaches' tendencies, and what type of team they are playing. Last night, we had a big play on Asia Wilson player prop. Okay. Oh, yeah, I really stepped out on a limb. Well, she hadn't gone over that total in a few games. And the reason being, you know, it was matchups of who she was playing and who was matching up against her defensively. Last night, Dallas doesn't have somebody to match up against her inside, plus the fact she hadn't been going to the foul line. I put in my analysis yesterday that after Tuesday night's game, when they had to actually restrain Becky Hammond, who went after the referees because they only went to the foul line a total of 8 times in that game, that there was going to be a tight whistle last night. And I said, if there is a tight whistle, which I expect, plus the dominance she has inside, she's going to be in the 30s in that game. Well, she went to the foul line 9 or 10 times in the game, and we scored 32. We had our player prop over in the third period. You just have to understand the game and the matchups. And, you know, it's not a basis on season averages.